Alright, so all we're doing now is drilling out the new roof bars. So what I've gone and done is buy a new 6 metre length of the 41mm sidewall aluminium extrusion. So the good news is that the price of aluminium has come down since I last bought the 6 metre length. So I paid about $86 for this 6 metre length. I'll put the proper price on the screen. Now there's a few reasons that I'm changing from the 20mm bars to the 40mm bars. Number one is clearance. It'll give me more clearance for things like awnings to get over these gull wing doors. And the other thing is it'll give me clearance for mounting junction boxes. Now the third reason is for the strength. An extra 20mm on the sidewall, you have a higher load rating, which I'll show on the screen now from Ezystrut website.
Bam, how about that transition? All right, Ezystrut website. Looking at channel strut, plain channel, we're gonna go aluminium. Now, it says ribbed. It is ribbed, but you don't see it on the aluminium. You can see it on the inside, but not the outside. So it might look like it's not ribbed, but it is. 1500 span, 157 kilos with a deflection of 5.84 millimeters. So it's a lot stronger if we look and compare it to the 20mm channel that I had installed before in aluminium. That load rating at that span of 1500 was only 58, so that's 99 kilos less, and it's almost double the deflection as well. So
I'll show you the difference in flex between the 20mm and the 40mm strut, and I'll show you the 20mm is actually, not only was it flexing up and down, but you could sort of twist it a little bit of a twisting motion. So I'm going to keep the 20mm. There's a few scenarios I might be able to use it. I've already paid for it, it doesn't weigh anything, so I might be able to install it in some other situations. So I've got these 12mm rubber buffers, and I will be installing these underneath the extrusion, between the extrusion and the roof. Even though the 40mm is stronger, there's no harm in putting these in. So here we have a 20 and 40mm. 20mm does flex quite a lot. 40mm with the same pressure does not flex anywhere near as much. Now, even though the 40mm doesn't flex as much, I am going to install this 12mm buffer on the underside, and the reason being is just in case it does move around at high speeds, I want to limit the movement up and down of the strut to prevent any stress from forming in the metal. So I just want to keep it as straight as possible. So I'll be installing one of these 12mm buffers with some rubber strip underneath it to fill that gap, and then I'll just be screwing that in to the bottom with self-drilling screws, and that won't be able to come out afterwards because it will have nowhere to fall, squeezed in between the canopy roof and the bottom of the extrusion. So all I'm using here is the buffer with 2 rubber strips. Pre-drill some holes here, and I'm just using some small self-tappers. Just pre-drill the holes because it's easier, not that aluminium's hard to drill. And then we'll drive these in. Now we'll just weigh these compared to the old ones and we'll know how much weight we're adding to the car.
So here's the 3 20mm and the 3 40mm, so the difference will be on the screen, and here's the end caps.
G'day guys, today just going to be installing an awning. It's a quick easy job, so it shouldn't be too long of a video. So there's not really too much to say about awnings. Obviously you got your left hand side and your right hand side awnings, so make sure you buy the right one for how you want to lay out your setup. I've gone with Dune 4WD drive, 270 degree awning. I haven't gone for one of the top of the range freestanding awnings, although I might upgrade one day. I'm just going to run this Dune 4WD drive 270 degree awning until it breaks, or I can justify an upgrade. There won't be much to this video. I'll basically just show you how to mount this Dune 4WD drive awning, and we'll go through the costs and the weights and other things to look out for. They do add a bit of weight, but they're kind of essential to get you out of the weather, out of the rain, out of the sun, and you can't really go too far without one. So we'll just look at how much weight we've added to the car. So here's some nuts and bolts. I might use a little bit extra over what's included because I've got to mount the 20mm strut to the 40mm, and I'm going to put 2 extra channel nuts inside for the future mounting of a junction box. The awning on the scales, 18.5 kilos. Got the supply brackets and bolts, 940 grams. The 20mm roof bar that I'm going to add, running north-south, 774 grams with closure and 2 end caps. I've just added this 1 length of channel closure to the top because we added that 20mm. So in the kit you got 2 mounting points, 2 mounting plates. There's some channel nut T-bolts. Each one should have a nylock nut with a flattener spring. You'll have two different sizes of buffers. This is for heavy duty crossbar, which I'll be using. And then there is the low profile variety. We've got M8 channel nuts for the heavy duty. And then on the other side is an exact mirror image. And then we have an M8 bolt with a flattener spring for that. That is basically it. Everything else is inside the awning cover. So the awning orientation is pretty easy to figure out, because if you have it the wrong way around, your writing will be upside down. And also there is a hinge on one side, and that will be the back of the car. So you'll notice I've changed my roof bars. I used to have the 20mm strut spanning east-west. I've changed that out for 40mm strut spanning east-west. Now what I'm going to do is use this existing 20mm strut that I had. I'm now going to run this north-south, and I'll mount the awning onto here. The reason being is that gives me that original 40mm clearance plus another 20, in the hope that when the awning is run out, I'll be able to open this door without this impeding on the awning. So we'll just wait and see if that's enough clearance. The other reason I wanted to use this is because it allows me to run cables from the front to the back of the canopy, using this as a tie-down point or a mounting point. So I wanted to install this regardless, but it does have the added benefit of giving me more clearance. So step one for me is to fit this 20mm strut to this strut using channel nuts and nuts and bolts that I've bought separately. I've mounted that 20mm to the front and the back. It's not bolted down in the middle yet, because the length of this roof bar might move forward or back depending on how I mount the max track. So at the moment, just bolted it to the front and back because they'll be staying as they are. Put a little rubber strip there just to give it some grip and compression. M10 bolts to give it the maximum pulling force as possible, a little bit stronger than M8. Now we are ready to mount the awning itself. The total length of the Dune 4WD 270-degree awning is 2.5 meters, and the only thing we really need to consider here is that the span of the two mounting joints needs to be a minimum of 800 millimeters apart. My two mounts will be approximately 1300 apart, and this works because they will then be mounted closer to M10 mounting bolt that attaches the 20mm channel to the 40mm channel. Just at the front side we have our 4 T-bolts, M8. Slide these into the channel. So by peeling back this cover you get access to the drop-in point. This is at the front of the awning. T-bolts in there, a bit of a tight fit. So you should have 2 bolts in the bottom, 2 in the top. These 2 I've slid in for the future mounting of a junction box. These are not special style bolts, these are just ordinary M8 bolts. They do fit, they just don't have as good a grip on here because they're hexagonal head, so there's less surface area gripping behind these lips. I'm only mounting a plastic junction box to here, but for the mounting of the awning, I would definitely use these larger square-headed M8 bolt. Just gives you a bit better grip. For this next stage we have our brackets to mount. Remembering this is the bottom at the moment. This bracket goes in here. These will fit over here. Now we're just putting these on loosely for now. We're not tightening them up. We're still going to slide this around. So I'll be terminating into heavy duty. So I'll be using this channel nut with this thicker rubber bump. I'll be putting an M8 bolt through here. Now we'll just set our distance now, because once you get these on, they're quite hard to slide around. Just using a steel rule to keep the bolts from dropping, because otherwise you can't get the nut started. Now we get to try and mount this in the channel up top. This would be easier with 2 people. Luckily I am a unit. I'm just going to place this on the roof, and then I'll have to jump on the roof and fit it from there. What I've done is mount the brackets as close as possible as the bolts that hold all this together. So there's no leverage at play. Everything should basically be a force straight down, and it should be pretty sturdy. I might actually look at getting a 3rd bracket. If they sell them individually, it's something I could look into. I will pin this 20 extrusion to the 40, but I need to find out what length I want this set at before I do that. So I'll have to mount the solar panel and the max tracks before I do the last hole through here. So I'm not going to go into the full setup of this awning, but I'm just going to open it and see if it clears the canopy door. If it does clear the canopy door, I might actually remount it without this 20mm strut, and I think that'll just look a little bit neater if it wasn't sitting on the 20mm strut. If that is the case, I'll just move the 20mm strut inwards and I'll keep it there just for running cables. The awning at its highest height, if everything was spread out, is held up off the canopy doors with this pole. Now it's hard to see in here, but the canopy door is up with this pole fitted. It does actually lift this pole above the canopy door, and none of the other poles will hit the canopy door because they'll be spread out further behind the car. But if there is an instance where you need to drop this pole, there is a point where it does rest on the canopy door. So it is 50-50 whether I remove that 20mm strut or not, or leave it mounted how it is. If it was raining and I had to lower this to allow for runoff, the canopy door won't open properly, but it's not going to damage anything. In normal conditions, on a good day, these poles are fully extended. I do have maybe 30mm between the canopy door and where it crosses this pole, so in theory I could drop that 20mm extrusion out and still maintain 10mm clearance on a good day. I'll show you, well, I'll try. So there is the clearance that we have. There's the pole there, and that is the amount of clearance. Alright guys, so that's a Dune 4WD 270-degree awning. So pretty easy install, bit of a pain to get up by yourself. At the end of the day, I'm not sure how long this is going to last me. I've noticed some fraying at some of the stitches and stuff, and I haven't even used it yet, which is kind of disappointing. Now we'll just have a look at the weights that we've added to the car. So here's that box of nuts and bolts with everything that we didn't use. There's a couple spare parts here for the awning and basically just nuts and bolts. Here's the total amount of weight we've added to the car. So there's your weights. I'm not sure if I'm gonna remove this 20 yet. Like you saw on the camera, it does clear the door when the poles are fully extended, but if the weather's bad and you need to lower the canopy, it's actually not high enough and you'd have to keep the canopy doors closed or just let the canopy door sit up against that pole. Either way, the cost and weight will be the same, because if I remove it off this 20mm extrusion, all I'll be doing is sliding that extrusion in, using that to run cables through, and then the awning will be mounted on here. So there won't be any weight or price changes if that's what I decide to do. A lot of it comes down to looks. I think it would look better if it was lower and it was hiding this 20mm extrusion. That's it for this video. Now we'll jump to the running costs and weights of the car for the BT-50 build. Hey, what are you doing there? Put a little tripod on the roof.